If only I could have been a child again. Then I wouldn't care what other people think. Then I would just do whatever I want to do. Play the whole day in my garden. I have heard it a million times that people are saying, if only I were a child. And I mean, I totally get that. That you want to return to those moments where you didn't have to worry about your rent, about if you can make it until the end of the month, food wise, family wise, relationship wise. The fact that you are trying to get your degree, but at the same time you're struggling because of all the pressure. I totally get that sometimes we wish that we would just could be kids again. That life could just simply become easier in just a second. And that we could just play all day and do not have to worry about anything. But honestly, I believe that it is not the problem that we have grown up. I think that is actually a blessing that we are becoming adults and that we have so much different experiences throughout our lives. The thing that I think is the problem is the fact that we have become too aware of our surroundings, of the expectations that are set for us. So no, I don't wish to be a child again. I wish to be exactly where I am right now. But what I do wish is that I can set my mind a little more free than it is, because that is the thing with becoming adults. I think we restrict ourselves a lot to a degree that isn't healthy, to a degree that isn't helping us, and often it is actually going against our intuition. Because as children, we are used to follow our intuition more. We are used to just think more freely, not being restricted by everything around us. And I think that is something that is extremely beautiful. But that is not only for kids, that is just a mindset. And yes, of course, it's extremely difficult to implement that mindset in your lifestyle right now at this point in your life. But it isn't impossible. There are ways to incorporate that mentality where you live freely, where you don't worry too much about other people's expectations or the expectations that society has set for you. In this episode, we're going to discuss ways to implement that mentality in your current life. And I'm going to share why I think it is so extremely important to tap into that child energy again. So if you're interested in that, then definitely tag along. Welcome to this new episode of Complexity of Contrast. I'm Anastasia, your podcast host, and we're gonna dive directly into it. To start at the beginning, I believe that within our timeline as human beings, we have this subconscious goal of becoming adults. And there is a moment in our lives that we are expected to become an adult. Whether that is a certain situation, people around you that expect that from you. There are so many small moments that request you to tap more into the energy of an adult, to become more responsible for your own life. But there's no particular moment where you are expected to be a child again. And I find that so extremely fascinating because I think that that is what we need. I believe that there are no processes in life that are linear. So why would we treat our lives and our timeline as child, adult, seniors? Like, I don't see the point in that. I think it's so extremely important to tap into the energy of these different stages because they are so valuable. Every single stage has its own lessons and its own valuable resources. And actually, I was triggered by this thought because I went to this campsite, and I talked about it in the last episode as well. But there was this campsite that was not a particular campsite, honestly. They organized all different art workshops, and it was amazing. I would 100% recommend going there because that was the first time in so long that I saw people from the ages between 18 and like 60 and they were replaying a scene of Lord of the Rings. They DIY'd their costumes, the decor, and they were sword fighting, they were screaming, they were battling as if it was real life, and they were honestly having the time of their lives. It was so insane to see that whole spectacle because I was looking at it, acknowledging the fact that all those people were considered to be adults. But meanwhile, right now in that moment, they were not acting like it. They were screaming, sword fighting, battling, and it was against everything. Every single rule that I had made up for myself. What is expected from an adult? We are not expected to scream out loud. We are not expected to play swords, whatever. And it was wonderful to see that. It was like something inside of me opened up. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what we need. Why do we let this invisible rules take so much power over our own mind and the actions we take? Because so many times I have held myself back simply because I assumed that it was not expected from me, because right now I'm an adult, so I cannot do XYZ. So that's why I think that when we become adults, it is incredibly important to find ways to let go of the mentality of restrictions, of things we cannot do, of things we are not expected to do. And that is by tapping into our inner child energy, as that is called. And my personal definition of tapping into that energy is acknowledging that you have free will, that you're just being in the moment and your mind is free to do whatever it wants to do right now. That sense of playfulness and curiosity, what I talked about in a couple episodes ago. But how can we tap into that energy? And as I said, there are events like this. There are campsites or festivals that are meant for adults to tap into their child energy again. And I believe this is amazing. The first time I read about it, I was like, okay, isn't this weird? And I'm gonna tell you, it is gonna feel weird when you go to an event like that. You're surrounded with all people you consider to be adults, and you're looking and you're like, what are we doing? Why are we jumping on trampolines? Why are we screaming? Why are we giggling? Why are we doing XYZ? You are gonna feel like this is not how you should be acting, because that is the narrative you have been telling yourself, that the people around you have been telling yourself what is considered to be adult actions, you know? But that doesn't mean that there is a valuable lesson within that discomfort. And what truly helped me is the fact that you're surrounded with so many people who want to do the same thing. At the campsite, we were like with, I don't know, I think more than 1,000 people that were all there to do these weird workshops, to tap into their creative energy, to become more free within their mentality, to let go of all the restrictions and all the rules they have set for themselves, what is normal as an adult. And also the festivals where you're just singing, you're just playing outside. You are doing it with other people, and it is so inspiring when you are not doing something alone. It is very difficult when you're like, I'm alone in this, what am I gonna do? It is still possible. I want you to be aware of that. You can do this on your own. But of course, when you're at a certain event, you tap easily into that energy of like, hey, everyone around me is playing. I want to do that too. The second thing is asking yourself, where do my burdens lie? Because that was honestly the thing for me, that I remember visiting a friend of mine, and we were walking and there was just this road, right? We were walking on the road and there was some green grass alongside, and my friend just started walking on the grass. And I don't even know what happened exactly within my body, but alarm bells were ringing inside of me. I was like, you can't do that. Why would you do that? This is meant to be the road you should be walking on, and you're walking on the grass. That isn't how you're supposed to act. And he was looking at me and he was like, why do you care so much? What is it? Why you feel this resistance, this urge to like take me off the grass and just walk on the normal road? And when he explicitly told me that, I was like, wait, there you have a point. Why is it triggering me so much? Why do I think as an adult I should not walk on the grass if there is a road beside it? Why? And actually, I'm still really frustrated when I think back of that moment. I was like, why? Why did I care so much that he was just doing whatever he wanted to do and not thinking of the invisible rules of whatever an adult is meant to act like? And there are so many different scenarios where people are like, oh, I wish I could have been a child again. And that is randomly starting to run. I mean, every time I see kids, I have this kind of nostalgia and I look at them and I'm like, oh, I wish I would do that I could do that, and that is randomly running or going outside in the rain, wear a skirt even though it's freezing, or just making weird faces, scream, going to the playground. There are so many different scenarios where I'm like, I wish I could do that. You can. You can. Literally, the only thing that is holding you back is the narrative that you have created for yourself of what an adult should act like. But it's up to you to rewrite that narrative, and the only way to do that is to slowly start practicing it. So, what I tend to do is when I see kids and I feel inspired, I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. I'm like, I can. I can. What is holding me back? The invisible rules? Okay, who cares? And that is something that I want you to say. Who cares? And I know that this is extremely, extremely difficult, but that is honestly, when I think back of being a child, I didn't care. I was just doing the things that I wanted to do. I was not restricted by some certain rules, except for like the rules of get back home by dinner and stuff. But literally, you are the one. I want you to be aware that you have that free will within you to just start running, to start screaming, to go to the playground and just play, to walk on the grass even though there's a street beside it. And I totally get it if that is super scary. Because we feel like, but what will other people think? This is not the expected behavior I should do, so other people will judge me for it. Let me tell you from personal experience that, okay, people do not care so much about you, first of all. And if they care, if they look weird at you, if they're starting to ask questions, remember that that is only temporary. And that is honestly, through traveling, I learned so many different things. And one of the things is things are temporary. The people that will judge you are also temporary. That judgment is gonna flow away at some point. And yes, it can keep you stuck in your head, but that's also up to you to let that go. So, if you still feel like you're trapped within the rules that are expected from you as an adult, then I would recommend to start opening up the conversation. Start talking with people in your environment about this, about the need to tap into that child energy, to do the things that you just want to do instead of thinking about what is expected from you. I remember this one time when I was hitchhiking through Switzerland. I was with this girl that I just met like 2 days before, and we ended up at this lake, and it was freezing cold, but it was amazing. And she found some sticks just laying around from the trees, She's picked him up, and we were like, wait, if we were childs, we would start sword fighting. And we looked at each other a second time and we were like, why wouldn't we? And oh my god, let me tell you how much I learned from that mentality. What is holding us back? Who cares? And of course, it is so much easier to say this than to actually adapt to it in your day to day life. But I want us to stop wishing to be children again. Oh, if only then I could do this, I would care less, I would not be worried. No. We are exactly here in this moment. How old we are, I don't care. I care about the fact that we do not need to be children again to tap into that free, careless mentality. And I'm gonna tell you one more thing. Nobody's gonna give you permission. Nobody out there will give you permission to tap into that childish energy, to be playful again, to do the things that you actually want to do instead of what your mind tells you what is expected from you. The only one who is able to give you that permission to do those things is you. It is always gonna be you. So you can't wait until somebody says to you, yeah, you can go from the slide, you can do this, you can start jumping at a trampoline. Nobody is gonna tell you that. You have to do that for yourself. And I think it's honestly a gift to yourself if you give yourself that permission, if you allow yourself to tap into that energy, to do the things you want to do simply because you feel that in that moment, and not because it meets other people's expectations, or you do not do things because it doesn't meet their expectations. You know what? Fuck that. Yeah, it is kind of like that. Fuck it. Just why we care so much about what other people have to say on how we should live as adults. I think giving ourselves that permission to tap into that playful energy, to just do not have to think 3 times if it would be okay and how others would perceive what I do and what actions and what decisions I would take, I think I would be way more relieved and way more myself, way more energized simply because I live according what I want to do. So, you know what? There is another person who is gonna give you that permission, and that's me. Allow yourself to tap into that energy. Start asking yourself, in what situations am I holding myself, my willingness to try to do back? And start doing exactly that. Go do those things. Go jump. Go to the playground. Go scream. Go whatever you want to do. And yeah, go to these events. Start looking for people who are okay with being childs. Okay, guys, I think that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I loved making this. I feel so in line with this message because I believe we should not wish to go back to our childhood. We are exactly where we are meant to be right now, and we just have to find ways to get to that mentality to set ourselves free from the restrictions we have made up for ourselves. So, thank you guys a lot for listening. Definitely leave a review. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Bye.